Well, I think I've got to go for my sort of mentor, and the guy that obviously effectively, albeit slightly through injury, moved aside and said, "Look, it's yours now, son." Who I opened with on my debut, and that was Andy Moles. A true bear, and just I think of all my experiences, looking at him, I think, well, he was very instrumental in how I played, and looking at my ability as a young player, and he was someone I looked at and thought, well, I can't bat like many others, but Mola was someone I thought, do you know what, it doesn't matter who the bowler is, what type of bowling it was, Mola just found a way. He was very dogged and wonderful, wonderful, wonderful batsman for Warwickshire. So he would definitely get my number one spot in that respect. Um, and then I think I'm trying to rack my brains. I don't think there's much better than 90 really in terms of as a partnership. So right hand, left hand, um, and then yeah, obviously his one day England performances were spectacular at times, and probably Mola was someone I thought should have played Test cricket. 90 obviously had quite a harrowing experience as a Test cricketer when you look at the attacks he had to face. I remember chatting to him at length about the pairs of opening bowlers that he faced in his first sort of few Test series, and you wouldn't wish your worst enemy out on some of those. So I think those two, as a partnership, I learned so much off both of them, and I think they will go down. Had I played with Dennis, maybe he'd probably have picked them to that. But I think in my era that they were the two best I had the pleasure of opening with, without a doubt. Um, well, it's it's very difficult, but I think I've got to. I think Brian Lara just about makes it in there. I did have the pleasure of playing with him in '98. I was obviously 94 was my first year on the staff, so whilst I didn't play in the first team, I was around the dressing room a lot with being a young 12th man and fielding a lot. And yeah, I mean there's not many sides he doesn't get into, is there? So no, he's got to be coming in at 3. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful batsman. Still a joy to watch when you watch all the old clips. So he would have been great in any era, I think. So yeah, he's definitely number 3. And then, to be honest, there's some really good creeders that won't get in the top 5, but I've got to go for Belly and Trotty, really. I mean, Belly, obviously, his record speaks for itself. You don't play 118 times for England in Test matches and not deserve to be in anyone's top 5. So, I think also having known him since he was about 6 or 7 years old when he first strode into the Rugby Cricket Club net. So, I take a lot of pleasure in looking back over my time. His first 100 was at Oxford with me. We opened the batting together there. So I saw his first one from the other end. And obviously he went on and scored many, many fantastic hundreds for both the Bears and for England. So I think Belly gets in at 4. And then, Trotty, we got across when I was captain, and, again, his record at the top level speaks for itself. It's pretty harsh him coming in at 5, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, what a top 5 that is. Yeah. If Andy Moles is the poor man's non-international in that, then I think it's a pretty good top 5. Whew, so in terms of all rounder, I'm gonna go on the premise that Sean Pollock's probably going to get in as one of my opening bowlers anyway. And all right, he is an all rounder, but to be honest, I'm going to have to squeeze 3 all rounders in there, and one is one will be the wicket keeping all rounder who'll come in next, and that I'm afraid, as much as I played with both Frosty and obviously Pipes. I think Pipes is the best wicket keeper I've seen. But if we're going on, I would have to put Pipes in most sides, but because Sangakkara played with us, he's probably getting in as the keeper batsman, and he's probably the best number 6 you could ever put in any side. So if I could have Pipes with the gloves and Sangakkara with a bat, but in modern day, I think you've got to play Sangakkara. He's one of the best cricketers in the world of his time. So he was wonderful to watch. So he can do the job with the gloves, which allows us to squeeze in more. And then I'll be honest. As much as Sean Pollock then probably fits in at 7, but my heart will lead with my head, and I've got to put Dougie in as a bear because I think as a captain, what I knew with Dougie was he was my vice captain for a couple of years, and just Dougie, you knew that he didn't care what end he bowled, he just wanted to bowl. So as a captain, to have someone that you're going to have to put in a lot of hard yards, and if you're away at Durham early season and it's cold and windy, you need someone like Dougie to run in. For you. So I'll probably put Dougie in then. Let's shove him at 7 because I think Pollock's a decent number 8. I think demoralising the opposition at certain periods of a 4-day matches was always part of my plans. And I think, Dougie scored us some really valuable runs and quickly as well. So, Sangakkara at 6, Dougie at 7. There's many fantastic cricketers I'm probably leaving out here. When you think of your Trevor Pennies, who I'd probably want at backward point, but I can't quite squeeze him into that top 6. So wonderful. Let's get the number 1 paceman out of the way. Has got to be Alan Donald because I've not played with anyone better when it comes to pace, and just all round sort of aura, and he's obviously a wonderful gentleman. But wow, I'm glad he was on our side. Let's put it that way. Yes, AD, gets in the probably number 10 or 11 slot. He's definitely bowling. Bowlers, it's so difficult because I played with Tim. Tim Munton's probably one of the best. Best around. In terms of frontline bowlers, he didn't have the pace of Donald and Small and Polly in his early days, but there wasn't a sixpence he couldn't hit on any pitch around from either end. So it's going to be difficult not to get him into the side. How many have I got left? Can we play 12 like modern day cricket? No. So I've got Donald and I've got Pollock. Pollock gets in, obviously. Yeah. So. Absolutely. And a young Belly got a few wickets for us as well. So we're not short on that. I'm banking on the fact we're going to score a lot of runs here, so it doesn't really matter. Look, in terms of, I know we are overseas dominant in certain areas here, which is understandable given the quality of overseas players. We've had the pleasure to watch at Edgbaston. I think, as a spinner, Giles and Smith dominated my era as spinners. Certainly as a young lad, and we generally went for overseas quicks or obviously overseas batsmen at the time. So I didn't play with a Warner or Mo Lithran or anyone like that. So, which is no disrespect to Neil and Ashley. Look, I think I've got to go with Gilo really. I think Gilo's got to go because, as England proved in 2005, as a fifth spinner that doesn't turn it much is very useful. He'll do the job. He can bowl over the wicket. He can bowl around the wicket when needed. And he's a. Look, I love Gilo. He's a really good man. He's a really good man, and look, he did. I remember to be honest, he was someone in the final at Lords. Again, he was obviously an international cricketer, and but he was really supportive. He was wonderful from a captaincy point of view. He read the game. He knew the game inside out, and I think just not that there's not some wonderful minds out there already, but in terms of true captaincy material, and vice captaincy material, I think Gilo was in terms of a Bears player that did what he did and got to where he did. He's a wonderful cricketer. And look, I'd love to find a place for Neil because I think as a pair in 4-day cricket, when you've got the runs that are in that top 6, 7, 8, actually, possibly 9 here with Giles or Pollock as well. You know, 2 spinners would probably come in handy at some point. But and like I say, there's some wonderful cricketers that don't even make that. You know, Gladstone's one of the great Bears. You know, fast bowlers. No, I think we've got enough there. It'd be very. I mean, I can't leave one of those batsmen out in terms of the top 6. I just can't. They're too good. Too good. So is that my 11, or have I got one left? Well, I think he's. You know, if Dougie really is the sort of. I mean, he's the third seamer in this, isn't he? So yeah, yeah, I've got to put Muntz in because I didn't see anyone better over a long period of time in terms of just just hitting that spot that batters find difficult to decide whether to go forward or back to. And I think we've got enough batting, so I don't need to bolster the lower order. No disrespect to Muntz. And I've got pace in Donald and Pollock, a young Pollock as well in then as well. He was quick. He was quick. So there's enough pace and power up front there. Dougie and Tim then Muntz will do the legwork when you're away at the Riverside on a cold, blustery April day. And then Charlie will do the job as a spinner. And to be honest, we're going to score 700 runs every inning, so it doesn't really matter. So if I was picking a 12th, then I'd have obviously play another spinner. I think that's where as a Warwickshire man, I'd have Neil there as my off spinner, Neil Smith, and then that would be the good old Smith Giles conundrum. Do both play? Do one play? And then with all due respect to Dougie's batting, I don't think he's going to get in that top 6. So if Tim's probably, if Tim's taking the third seamer's role, then it would be probably Brown or Smith. In that respect, it took me 2.5 years to break into the side then, and I think I had to score 300s and a double hundred in the second team just to get a sniff. And I thought that side was strong anyway. And obviously, Dermot would have got into most sides. I didn't play first team cricket with Dermot in a full first class match, I don't think. He was sort of just about finished by then. So obviously, you wouldn't leave him out of many Bears sides as a captain, would you? I'm thinking Test cricket and 4-day cricket. This side is as strong as I can think of all those I played with, and I could probably pick a second 11 that would compete in first class cricket as well. So, but yeah, no, it's a strong side. It's a strong side.